Aid agencies have reiterated calls for Israel to allow more tents and urgently needed supplies into Gaza after the first heavy winter rainfall, saying more than 250,000 families need emergency help with shelters. "We are going to lose lives this winter. Children, families will perish," says Jan Egeland, Secretary General of the Norwegian Refugee Council, NRC. "It's actually so frustrating that we've now lost so many crucial weeks since the adoption of the Trump peace plan, which said humanitarian aid would flow, and the Palestinians would not needlessly continue to suffer. With a majority of the population displaced by 2 years of a devastating war, most Gazans now live in tents, many of them makeshift. They have been clearing up after widespread flooding due to a winter storm that began on Friday. There are fears that diseases could spread as rainwater has mixed with sewage water. My children are already sick and look at what happened to our tent," said Fatima Hamdona, crying in the rain over the weekend as she showed a BBC freelance journalist the ankle-deep puddle inside her temporary home in Gaza City. "We don't have food, the flour got all wet. We're people who have been destroyed. Where do we go? There's no shelter for us to go to now." Story was the same in the southern city of Khan Younis. "Our clothes, mattresses and blankets were flooded," said Nihad Shabat, as she tried to dry out her possessions there on Monday. Her family has been sleeping inside a shelter made of sheets and blankets. "We're worried about getting flooded again. We cannot afford to buy a tent." A recent UN report found that across Gaza more than 80% of buildings had been destroyed and 92% in Gaza City. According to the NRC, which has long led the so-called shelter cluster in Gaza, made up of some 20 non-governmental organizations, NGOs, about 260,000 Palestinian families, or about 1.5 million people, are in need of emergency shelter assistance, lacking the basics to get through winter. The NGOs say they have been able to get only about 19,000 tents into Gaza since the U.S.-brokered Israel-Hamas ceasefire took effect on 10 October. They say they have 4,000 pallets of aid containing non-food items, including tents and bedding, blocked from entering. Supplies that have been bought are currently stuck in Egypt, Jordan, and Israel. Jan Egeland blames what he calls a bureaucratic, military, politicized quagmire running counter to all humanitarian principles for the holdup. In March, Israel introduced a new registration process for aid groups working in Gaza, citing security reasons. It requires that they give lists of their local Palestinian staff. However, aid groups say that data protection laws in donor countries prevent them from handing over such information.